thought something we typically title this presentation "Solving Shit," but when we were in India, we switched it to sanitation research because it's a little more formal. But we're here to talk to you today about the opioid defecation crisis. So if you're not familiar with it, it's a massive global health crisis that is apparent in a number of countries, most notably India. And we got involved in this project about 7 months ago when my partner Jason approached me with an idea for a wireless toilet to address this issue. And I had been to India in the past and had been reading about this crisis and was familiar with it, and it was something that I was interested in researching. And so we jumped into the research and we realized, okay, there's this massive problem of defecation. There's all these great organizations who are working on solving it through the implementation of a wireless toilet, but they hadn't really succeeded at scale. And at the time we weren't quite sure why, but we did a lot of research and we identified these 4 issues that kind of outlined what was wrong with the current wireless toilet solutions. And when we went to India, what I realized was that, okay, there's a couple of wireless toilet solutions that have made progress here, here, and here, but let's say you sell 5 million toilets in India, that's fantastic. That's 1% of the people that need it. And so there's a lot of room for growth here. And the thing that stood out to me was that the solutions that I saw were probably what I would build if I didn't have to worry about the bottom line, right? Because these organizations that are working on sanitation have access to so much capital from the government, from foundations, from nonprofits, and so they don't really need to worry about costs. So they can build things that aren't really financially sustainable, but they prove victorious in small pockets. And so these people hadn't considered a lot of the things that we had kind of thought about bringing to the table. And so these shortfalls are kind of what helped us build out our solution. So what we are building is a wireless, electricity-free, portable, private toilet solution for people in India. So if you live in India right now and you want to buy a toilet, you go to the local mason in your village and you say, okay, I want a toilet. So he comes to your home and first he determines whether you have enough space. So if you want a toilet, what he's going to build you is a twin pit latrine system. So you essentially have a brick and mortar superstructure and an 8-foot pit below with a neighboring pit right next to it. So when the waste of the first pit fills up, it gets diverted into the second one. Well, this requires a lot of space. So if you're in an urban slum, it's likely that you don't have enough room for this. Well, let's say you do have enough room for it, then you have to have enough money. So this likely costs between 12 and 15,000 rupees. Okay, that's about 450 to 500 US dollars. Most people in urban rural slums in India don't have that. Well, if you don't own the land you live on, then you really can't build, right? Because if you're going to leave in 2 years, you're not going to invest all this money in don't know how that happened. You're not going to invest all this money in a toilet solution. And so what we built is an alternative to that. You go to our toilet store, you approach the salesman, you say, I want a toilet. He says, okay, let's get you a toilet. It's going to cost you 3,000 rupees instead of 15,000 rupees. You can put it inside your home, outside your home, on top of your home. We'll figure out how to extract the waste, and we'll go from there. So that was kind of the basis of what got us here. So this is essentially how our solution works. So please excuse my horrible graphic design skills. I'm a terrible artist, but bear with me here. So what you see on your left is a test environment, okay? All of the toilets in blue are households that have purchased our toilet for, like I said, 3,000 rupees. So to purchase a toilet, you go to this entrepreneur's store. Now, this entrepreneur owns this business. He operates it himself, and he's personally incentivized to make the toilet sell and grow his company. We're trying to create jobs here, stimulate economic growth. I want this to be financially sustainable. I don't believe in going to India, raising much money and handing out toilets to people. I want this to stimulate their economy. Any scalable solution like this has to be market driven. So this toilet entrepreneur runs this business, and out of it he sells these toilets. So what you see here are houses who have purchased the toilet. Now, when he sells you the toilet, he goes to your home and he identifies an extraction model for how the waste is going to be taken out. So I'll give you an example of one extraction model. There's a bunch of them depending on the housing orientation you live in. But for example purpose, imagine you live in a one-room shack. That's what a lot of these people are living in. So you put this toilet in the corner of your home, and the extraction process is a 2-man process. So these men are driving 2-wheeled vehicles. They can maneuver inside of small urban environments. So the first guy comes in his motorcycle, and on the back he has a small trolley mechanism. He parks his bike, he goes into your home, he puts the trolley under the toilet bin like a forklift, and he brings the bin outside your home, and he leaves. He doesn't touch it. So you, for a short period of time, have your bin outside your home. About a minute to 5 minutes later, guy number 2 comes on his bike. On the back of his bike, he has a small tank and a pump. He parks his bike, takes the cap off your toilet, he sticks his pump in, he puts a switch. The waste is sucked out of the toilet bin into his pump. Now, the bin is lined in a super hydrophobic polymer, which means very resistant to water. Everything in our body has H2O in it, so when the waste is sucked, all of it comes out immediately. He then caps your toilet and leaves. He doesn't put it back in. These transitions are fast, so you don't see this guy for very long. The guy that initially brought it out comes back in the circle, brings his trolley back, rolls it back in, and leaves. You go back to using your toilet, and it's like nothing really happened. So you use your toilet, and let's talk values here. So we calculated it for a family of 4, 7'4", 250-pound men. So our toilet at current capacity can hold a little over 2 weeks of their waste. Now, I don't know what that translates to with Indian families, but I'm going to hypothesize that it can probably hold a little longer than that, because most people in India are at 7'4" or 250 pounds. So your waste is collected and brought to this pickup location every 2 weeks. Now, the cycle begins when this truck arrives at the pickup location. So the truck takes away from the pickup location and takes it to the processing plant. Now, I know the processing plant sounds like a big expense and it's going to be hard to set up, but we've done a significant amount of research in rudimentary plant design, and we've established a way to build a biodigestion plant out of rudimentary materials. So what you see in those circles are fixed biogas digesters. They're made of concrete, brick, wood, cement, sand. They're quite easy to build, and with the cost of labor in India, they're not too expensive. So the plant you see services 10,000 people. So you essentially have these rows of biodigesters that are connected in series through pipes. So the waste is quite simply pumped into the digesters. The digesters are lined with anaerobic bacteria. The bacteria and the waste react to produce biomethane, right? So the biomethane flows in series through these pipes into a fuel cell. Now, what you see here is 3 fuel cells. It's likely that we'll only need 1. Okay, so the biomethane flows into the fuel cell. And I can explain the science behind the fuel cell, but essentially what it does is it turns biomethane into electricity. The electricity that we produce from the biomethane gets pumped into these batteries. Now, the batteries are about the size of a car battery, and you can use them to power your home, your electronics, whatever you need. The batteries go back onto the truck returns to the village, and the community member distributes the batteries to the families from which he got the waste in the first place. Now, this is obviously the best case scenario solution, and when we went to India, this is what we brought. But what we realized when we left was we actually have 2 businesses here. The first, a toilet store, and the second, an energy store. So we set up one business, and you go, you buy a toilet for 1/8 of what you'd pay originally. You don't need to worry about building anything, digging anything, having the space to build it. If your family needs to get up and move, you take it with you, okay? We extract the waste, we charge a monthly subscription cost for the waste, and we process it however we choose, whether that's at our processing plant, or if we don't have critical mass of toilets in that geography, we take it to a different processing plant, either a different organization who's put up a processing plant or the government. But this business can run independent of the processing. The processing business can also be independent. So you just have an energy store. So you go to the store, similar to you would to the toilet store, and you say, "Energy man, I live in a house with 4 people. We have 2 TVs, 2 light bulbs, and a fan." He says, "Okay, well that's going to be 60 kilowatt hours a month. You're going to pay 100 rupees. So every month this guy delivers to you a battery that you use to charge your home. Now this battery is powered by the processing plant and waste that we use to process it. So you're asking, well, where do you get the waste if you're building this in a place where you don't have toilets? People want to get rid of their waste all over India. So we go to pit latrines, septic tanks, rivers. We suck out waste from public places. In a lot of these instances where we get paid to do it, we turn that waste into energy and we bring it back to them in the form of a battery. So we're in India. So basically, this is a tough thing to take you through the timeline of because everything's moved so fast. But essentially, we got started 7 months ago. We realized, all right, we need to build a toilet. We need to get to India. So we built the toilet, thanks to this guy, really fast because he's crazy. And we got in touch with a lot of organizations who are working to solve this. Now, we knew that there was no way that 3 college kids would be able to set up large-scale infrastructure in India. There is so many complexities involved with doing any kind of enterprise in India due to the government and a bunch of other factors that are very hard to navigate. And so we knew that we needed the partnership of an organization there on the ground to help us. So when we went to India, we were very deal-driven. We had a very deal-driven mindset. We basically knew, okay, we need to lead with a strategic partner who's wanting to help us roll this out. So like I said, the Gates Foundation got involved early and essentially set us up with all of the organizations to which they have grants out to. So we spent our first 3 days in India meeting with all these organizations, presenting our solution, and to be honest, we were very confident going into it, but we operated with a small degree of caution, knowing that there was a likelihood that we would learn something there that we could have never learned prior to going to India that would make our solution either much harder, much more, less feasible financially, or maybe even impossible. And our first meeting was with one of the biggest organizations there. It's called WaterAid. And, long story short, we had a long talk with this guy. He asked a lot of great questions. And in the meeting, this guy's like, we want to work with you. So this first kind of confirmation gave us the confidence to go into the rest of the meetings knowing we really have something special here. Now, the people who have been working on this for so long, they've been doing this for 20 years, and none of them have considered a out-of-ground, portable, private toilet solution. the mindset in India has been, let's build something that no one ever has to touch, right? So it goes in the ground, it gets processed through some chemical way, and the byproducts get dispelled in the environment in a non-harmful way. Now, that's great, but I don't think that's the sustainable way to do it. You have to, the difference between the first world and the third world is you extract the waste from the environment and you process it into something efficient. And so when we brought this idea to them, it was something they had never seen before. So we're in these meetings for 3 days and we're getting really good feedback. So we start to realize, all right, we got these two businesses, we have groups who are interested in financing and partnering with us in each of these businesses independently, and we're very excited, but we hadn't really gone into the field yet and shown potential users our toilet. So on Thursday we fly to Podno, which is basically ground zero of the waste crisis, and we take our small scale model to the field, basically rural slums. So we have someone from this group who's hosting SPSI take our product and explain it to the people, how it's going to work, what it's going to cost. And the reaction we got was incredible. They basically said, we need this right now. Like one guy was like, you have 2 months to make this. Like they really wanted it. And not only did they tell us that they wanted it, but they told us specifically why they wanted it. So they said, this is going to be incredible for old people who aren't mobile. They can't go to the bathroom. Now the bathroom can be brought to them. Or people who basically are living in places for a year or 2 years and they get up and leave. They don't have a portable sanitation solution. They can't ever dream of buying a toilet because they can't build on the land that they own. Or the women who we presented this to were amazed by the idea of having a private option to go to the bathroom. A lot of them will not eat, so they don't have to go during the daylight because they literally have to go outside. So they'll go in the dark times because it's less dangerous. Now, sometimes it's more dangerous, and this is a big issue there. So they were very excited by the idea of a private toilet. So we get this feedback in Podno, and now we're really excited. And our next field visit is on our last day, Saturday, about an hour and a half outside New Delhi at a resettlement colony. So obviously, large overpopulation in the slums, the government gives minor financial incentive for these people to move out into a resettlement colony in the suburbs. So we go out there and we meet with this organization called CURE, who is an office there working to improve sanitation in the area. And we start to realize very early on that they've been looking for a toilet solution just like this in the area. And we walk into the village and we see the housing orientation and we realize, okay, this is a perfect test environment. So we get back to the office and long story short, we move forward with the discussion and they want 1,000 toilets at their unit at their location for our first test environment. And so going into the end of the weekend, we realized, all right, we want to leave India with a partner to roll out our first 1,000 toilets and our first processing solution and battery store. And it's likely that there's going to be 7 partners. So we received interest from both the toilets, the Gates Foundation and the CURE organization wants to help us roll out our first 1,000 at this testing facility. The processing solution, we have a group called the Path Social Innovation Hub who wants to help us raise the financing for that solution in a different part of India. And then there's other groups, organizations that have expressed interest in helping us. Now, you're probably thinking, well, why are you here? Why do you need our help? Well, these organizations are very interested and they want to help us at scale, but we have to be able to get there, and we need money to get to India, get a place. We're basically the minute we can, the minute we're going finals, we're getting back to India. Like we know that we need to be on the ground. It'd be incredibly paternalizing of us to think that we could do this from here. So we need the finances from this competition to fund our summer there, get somewhere to live, get our flights out there, finish our early prototype development, and start to get the gears going. Now I think we're going to receive financing for both these solutions. But I don't want to be put in a position where we're struggling to get to India or pay the people we have working for us, and we can't, get the gears going. So this project has moved incredibly fast. I mean, 7 months ago we had this idea. 3.5 months ago we had a basic drawing of a toilet. Now we have, in those months we went from basic drawing to 3D model to quarter-size model to full-scale prototype to we're going to have 1,000 toilets out this summer. So we know the demand is there. People want to try our solution. There's people who've been doing this for a long time that think it's going to work. We're really excited to just keep testing and learning. We know that it'd be silly for us to think that we can show up to India and say, hey guys, this is the toilet you need to use. We're not the ones using it. It's not our problem. This product, this solution needs to be driven by the user. So we have already made design changes and Andrew can go into those based on their feedback. So this is their toilet. It's not our toilet. We're not trying to establish something that's going to take advantage of their system. We want to create an entrepreneurial model so they can create jobs and they can create growth in their economy. The only requirement is that they use our toilet, right? So these are the things we're thinking about. That's where we are. That's kind of why we need this money. And these are the things we know. This is just kind of our next steps after India. And we would be delighted if you would join us. Now, if you have any technical questions, we can get into that. Andrew can talk about the toilet, but that's on a high level what we're doing.
Very cool. Very cool. Nice work, guys.
Thank you.
Couple minutes for questions.
Yes, I mean, on the biodigester, biomethane gas conversion to electricity, is that all proven off-the-shelf technology?
Yeah, so the fuel cells are made by a company called Bloom Energy. They've been doing it for a while. I'm actually going to dinner with the president of the company tomorrow night to talk about our partnership. But that's proven technology. It's quite simple.
So on the fuel cell side, in terms of the bio, what you call it, biomethane, that generation, and that's all.
Technically it's biogas, and then there's a system that we can go through that isn't relatively expensive, but we don't know if it's necessary to upgrade the biogas to biomethane. And the conversion rate for this Bloom Energy is 60%. The average conversion rate before that time, before this company was there, was roughly 30 to 25, so it's a dramatic increase.
So the system we're using is the most efficient way to use waste. The production of the biomethane has been done for a long time in biodigesters. The design that we're using is actually a modification of a design used by the Army Corps of Engineering in Nepal. And so it's meant for rudimentary design and kind of versatility in different geographies. So the science behind the gas production has been done for a very long time. In fact, we actually use anaerobic digestion in the States in a plant in Akron, Ohio. However, it uses pretty high-tech machinery because it's on a very large scale, so it's not very cost-effective. That's why we don't do it at scale. But ours is kind of a decentralized version of that.
Cost-effective, can you, instead of scale up, scale down to, I mean, like, what's the smallest cost-effective?
Great question.
Like for a little village, kind of like their own central little.
So we can make them as small as 4 square meters. So we could essentially build a single digester.
But for like, how many people would that be? That's for 10,000 users.
So that's 25 digesters for 10,000 people. So if we want to scale it way down, we can put a single. Sure, we can put a single digester at his pickup location, and he can do the digestion on the spot. So the idea here is we create this entrepreneur model, and these guys are or women are incentivized to basically build their business however they see fit. So if they think that they can manage a digester on their site, we'll give them the tools to do so. They just have to make it profitable, or they're gonna not do well. So like, we want to create a model for them to build a business. So yeah, we could scale it up, down, decentralized. We could build a plant with 100 digesters. It's just, basically the idea is, like I said, in the perfect world, these things can work together. For financial purposes, it makes more sense due to efficiency to test them separately, build 2 profitable businesses, and then bring them together in the right geography.
What if I told you that you could only do one of the businesses? Which one would you do?
It would depend on location.
Yeah, it's all geography. So basically this problem takes many different forms in different parts of India. India is way more diverse than people realize. I'm not talking like ethnically or religiously, I'm talking like culturally. So you have these like different housing orientations and just different ways of life. And so really the problem is worse, like the toilet problem and the energy problem are worse in different places. So it really depends on where we are. But we've basically built out financial models for both of these, and it's very feasible that we could see profitability in either of these in less than 4 years. The toilets, less than 2 years. So I think we could build 2 profitable businesses simultaneously, and eventually they'll work together. But that's a tough question to answer, just because the issue's so bad in different places.
So it's like it's a killer story. I dig it. The problem with it is that building one business is really fucking tough. And you guys are doing 2 of them. And then adding an extra layer of complexity to it. You're going halfway around the world into a 3rd world country where it's not like opening up in Newport Beach or Santa Monica.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard.
24-hour trip.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard as hell, but
that's why when I look at this, it's just a question of focus. Like, if you've got 2 businesses here, at some point, I have a feeling you're gonna have to make a decision. It's like, okay, we can't do everything. We're gonna need to pick one of these. And that's what I'm super curious which one of them is the one. And if it's geography dependent, then my answer would be, well, India's a big country. You gotta pick which geography you're going in. So which geography, which market, and which product.
So I agree that it's going to be really tough to balance both these things, but the reason that we've decided to move forward with it is because we've received so much interest in both of them that we can basically get both of them funded with separate partners, get on the ground partners with like separately and roll them out. So, you know, like I said, we're never going to be able to set up large-scale infrastructure on our own. We're going to use WaterAid, the Gates Foundation, the Wash Institute, Indian Sanitation Coalition, people that have been doing this for a long time. Sure, the people that want our 1,000 units. These people are going to help us with transportation logistics and buying storefronts and buying real estate and acquiring materials and hiring people. It would be crazy to think that we can set up 2 of those businesses simultaneously. So just due to the amount of people that have expressed, I mean, I had a, you know, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Hinduja group, but essentially the Indian economy is run by like 6, 7 conglomerates, one of which is the Hinduja group. And I had, you know, Rita Hinduja, who's born in the Hinduja group. I was on the phone with her last week, and I mean, she's telling me like she wants to help us roll out 5 test solutions in the south of India with our toilets at the same time as we're in the north. And so I'm telling her, look, we need to stay very focused, but she's at the same time me, we'll throw you every resource in the world to do this. So going in, our mindset was focus, focus, focus. Let's find 1 toilet test facility, build 1 plant. Like this diagram was what we went to India with. The only reason we are separating them is because that's what we got out of the trip. We basically had these people saying, look, we want to roll both these things out and test them, and we're not going to pump the brakes on them if they're going to put the resources in. So,
And they're the ones that are gonna be writing checks for this?
right.
Where are you guys in your academic careers?
Junior, mechanical engineer, just specified in design, product design.
Sophomore business major, social entrepreneurship minor.
And then we have another member named Jason Spoon, who is a CS major, but he is more the head on the plant design.
So Jason is basically everything from poop to battery. Andrew's everything from poop to potty, and I'm the business side.
And then just to give you a quick little touch on, because I know we're running over the time, so I just think we'll be wrapping up soon. One of the biggest things that they liked about was the diversity of the products, because I'm able to engineer and basically design the toilet to fit almost any environment, because it's such a basic concept. It's basically 3 little basic concepts. And they liked how that we were able to adapt very easily. And even with these adaptations that he mentioned earlier, adjusting to the social norms to make it easier for the user, the toilet is actually, instead of going up in price per unit, just material cost, not processing or machining cost, it went from $76 in material cost, and I've gotten that down to just over $8.
So the cost is really our differentiator. I mean, we're basically bringing the toilet option to a demographic of people who could have never considered having their own toilet.
How'd you guys come up with the idea?
So I went to India when I was like 13 with my family and was exposed to the issue. Obviously, when you're 13, you know, not everything sticks with you, but some things do. When you see shit everywhere, that sticks with you. And I'm an entrepreneur. I built 2 businesses. One did quite well, one did not well. And I knew that I wanted to continue building businesses. That's my passion. And Jason approached me with the idea early in the year. He basically said, look, I got this idea for a wireless toilet. I've been thinking about food waste and biogas. And we basically, I mean, we're all good friends and we're all interested in the same kind of stuff. So we started talking about it, getting the research, and we realized that this was an incredible opportunity to, I mean, if I'm going to be personally, like, this is going to sound super cliche, but like I've said this a million times, like my goal in life is to use what I have to improve the quality of life for as many people as possible. And this seemed like the best vehicle to do so. So when I realized that, we jumped in. And I mean, jumped in. Like, we have been so obsessive over this. Like, you ask our friends, like, this is all we talk about, care about, think about. Like, they call me the poop kid, like, poop lord, like everything. Like,
Is this a for-profit business?
absolutely. So people ask that all the time, and you know,
Why? Why is it a for-profit?
because it's got to grow, it's got to be sustainable. You can't, you know, that was what I realized was the main issue with these solutions in India was they're being built without a concern for the bottom line. And you can't burn cash forever. So I would much rather go in and provide a solution that can invigorate the economy, produce jobs, and create growth than
The only reason I'm asking is it
solutions.
sounds like most of your funding sources, these guys are not for-profit businesses, they're gonna need to fund.
So, exactly, so that's the crazy thing. So these people will essentially give us donations with no expectation of return. And
They are allowed to donate, they know
Totally.
you're for-profit.
It's a grant, it's a
Yeah.
grant. So grants you can, they're essentially donations with no expectation of return. Now, their return is the progress, basically getting people toilets who've never had them, giving people electricity that never had them. And it's not like we're charging a lot of money for these things, we're charging the bare minimum that we can to make this sustainable. So our option is way cheap. I mean, people are paying so much for energy in India right now. You could charge them close to that, but just under, but we're not. We're gonna charge affordable prices. We're trying to build accessibility, not profitability. Our end goal right now is not profits, it's solving the energy problem and the poop problem and creating something that can grow and sustain. And I don't think that doing that without thinking about the bottom line and cash flow is a very good idea.
Well, I don't think that those are mutually exclusive thing about the bottom line of cash flow and whether you determine whether you're for profit or not for profit.
Yeah, you could be not for profit and make money.
And you can
But
still build and grow your business. It's, that's why I was just curious.
yeah, there's just more of the restrictions, tax restrictions, legal restrictions. So more freedom. So we'll be a B Corp. So not a C Corp, a B Corp. So a benefit corporation, there's certain guidelines we have to follow.
Yeah.
So our goal here is progress.
I know we have to
Yeah,
move
we
on. Just
gotta-
a really quick curiosity question. How much does it weigh empty and how much does it weigh full?
Weighing full, well, technically I have the numbers memorized in kilograms, but
That's
the
okay, I can do that.
weighing full, when it's full, the old model he was talking about is 60 kilograms. I've actually increased the volume capacity because they use wash water and like they flush with water. So right now we're developing a system to extract that water to keep the tanks as little as possible for as long as possible, which actually provides them with gardening water simultaneously. But with its full, with the new model, it's gonna be around 80 kilograms full. Without it full, it'll be just under technically 15 with the new model.
Very light.
Very light. We want to transport. When it's empty, we want the user to be able to just literally get up and go.
I mean, there's a massive population of people who are relocating like all the time
Where would you manufacture the toilets?
in India. So that's another thing. Is, being we're for profit, but being socially oriented. There's a lot of groups who have reached out to us, willing to help us with manufacturing, distribution, and transportation that are going to give us advantageous deals based on the work we're doing. So it's kind of like we could go. Like I've already received lots of venture capital interest, private equity interest. Like we could go raise. I mean, I don't want to say anything ridiculous. We could go raise a lot of money right now from venture capitalists and that kind of thing. But if we're going to get grants from nonprofits and like people with experience doing this, like that's a way better way to go about it. I mean, it's like not a lot of businesses can leverage that, but due to the structure of ours, it's a possibility. So we're going to take advantage of it.
And the material we're using is very, very abundant. I've done research on that. We've confirmed with different manufacturers out in India that it's extremely abundant and extremely cheap.
I think that did you raise VC money for your last company? Okay, so it's so fast and cheap and easy right now. The idea of, and I don't know what it's like to do a grant, I only know the VC world, but I don't know, I could see a world where you could, if you're getting that much interest, there's a lot of guys out there that would like to feel good about some of their investments, and you could probably raise money pretty cheap. And it'd probably be quicker than waiting on a lot of these grants. The grants will always be there once you get the stuff set up. So. And especially if you're going to be for profit, the VCs, that opens the door for them.
Yeah, there's a lot of financing opportunities we're looking into, but I'm honest when I say this. Like, we need short-term money to get us to India, to have a place to stay, to finish product development. Like, we don't have any cash right now. We spent all of
Where
it.
are you going to do the development? Where's the next trip?
India, back to Delhi. So,
What are you going to do?
so basically, this reselling colony, working with Kira, did our first toilet store there.
Sweet. Sounds really cool.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Sorry for going over time.